The last speaker for today is Professor Sandmark from the Schiller Institute, who will speak on the last, but perhaps from our standpoint, the most important position of Sweden to how we can bring about a change in thinking in Sweden in regards to the Belt and Road, and even in the way that it was proposed by Professor Diesen, a more just global security arrangement, which does not necessarily have to revolve exclusively and hopefully not around NATO. I will just say briefly, as I introduce Professor Sandmark, that I want to emphasize my own membership in the Chinese Bridge Club in Stockholm, which has played a very important role in promoting friendship and cooperation. There are many young Swedish members of this who have been learning excellent Chinese and are very optimistic about the cultural cooperation and exchange and friendship between Sweden and China. So there is a foundation there that I hope will lead us also into greater cooperation until 2023, next year. With that said, I would like to introduce Professor Sandmark to make his remarks. You're muted, Professor.
Thank you, Stephen, and I'm privileged to be part of this webinar. And so, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Schiller Institute in Sweden has congratulated the President of China and the General Secretary Xi Jinping and the Communist Party of China for the successful conclusion of the 20th Party Congress. I found the 20th Party Congress as a no-nonsense mobilizations to forge ahead, building China with very ambitious goals, which are called the Great Rejuvenation and Modernization of the Chinese nation. The determination expressed in this Congress to unite and lead the people to realize this goal should be very impressive for any outside observer. I see with great optimism the continued anchor role of China in promoting global peace development for mankind. The two initiatives, Global Development Initiative and the Global Security Initiative launched by President Xi, will be in the center stage for advancing peaceful cooperation between East and West. This is absolutely urgent, as the world was close to nuclear war in the middle of this month, when a stray missile hit a farm silo in Poland, killing 2 workers. The editors of Associated Press and other Western media blew this up as a military attack on NATO by Russia, even though there was no military meaning in attacking a farm. NATO irresponsibly called a meeting in Brussels to discuss implementing Article 4 or possibly Article 5, which is a full war. If there is no instigation by irresponsible forces to further destabilize the global peace and economic development, the people-centered policy which China has put in place has the best potential to fully realize the Chinese dream of national rejuvenation. I fully agree with what Professor Glenn Diesen said before about hegemony, so I will not repeat that, but go on to discuss more the economic principles here. The Belt and Road Initiative has soon for 10 years served as a foundation for global economic development and cooperation. Its success as the biggest development project in world history is a major factor in promoting peace. It is a model project promoting peace in the great tradition from the 1948 Westphalian Peace Treaty of ensuring peace by promoting welfare of the other. That is a peace treaty for which Sweden is proud to have been the main signatory power beside Austria. To stop the war in Ukraine, The world needs immediately peace negotiations and like the Westphalian Peace Treaty, including an economic program to ensure peace, where Ukraine, instead of a war zone, could become a bridgehead for peace in Eurasia as part of the BRI. As an economist, I want to underscore the importance of China becoming a moderately prosperous country. It goes much beyond the comfort for the people with better living conditions, health service, food, and housing. The higher living standard also means a much higher potential productivity and a much higher labor power. The new welfare of the formerly extremely poor should not be seen as a cost, as most Western economists claim. Instead, it should be seen as an investment and the precondition for this enlargement of the labor force to develop the qualifications, making them able to contribute to the industrialization 4.0. The people-centered policy of poverty alleviation is therefore the source of tremendous future extra boost to the economy of China. The monetary standpoint is misunderstanding the poor people and the tremendous economic potential of the poverty alleviation success. From a market standpoint, the poor are not existing in the market economy as they have no buying power. I underscore this horrific theory in our money-centered market economy to point out that the most important effect of the people-centered policy of the CPC, from an economic standpoint, the recruiting of 850 million extremely poor to join the productive economy more than offsets the China's demographic downslide, which Western observers are so fond of pointing out. Problems are solved in China with such real physical economic measures. The people-centered policy has equipped the whole population, even in the most distant villages, with tools and reliable connections to the whole communication systems of telecommunication. The fixed broadband penetration in China has reached 96%, and the mobile broadband use was 108%. Every village in China has been reached by the policy of rural electrification, as well as road, rail, shipping, and parcel services. This is a non-monetarist investment that will further increase the productivity of the new labor power. It produces and expands the productive economic space for an even broader economic growth. In Sweden, there is a saying, when the farmers are well off, the nation is well off. The main reason for this phenomenon is not that most people are farmers, but because the farmers are productive people and they're directly benefiting from any labor-saving machines. Any surplus income from farming is therefore productively investing, putting local industry to work. The welfare of the farmers increases more rapidly with the new machines at the same time as the industry grows. Also, productively working small and middle-sized entrepreneurs invest in the same way. Now, when the absolute poor are getting the nose over the water, our experience in Sweden was an explosion of productive investment, of extra schooling, also improvement of the family housing. Already from such general opportunities, we will see in China a tremendous hunger for innovation improvements in local production. The CPC particles put a tremendous focus on innovation and productivity in the poverty alleviation campaign and continues this policy of systematically enhanced innovation. What I want to stress is that Western monetarist economists misunderstand and underestimate the growth potential of China. One example where they just add figures without comprehending the real physical economy is the issue of debt burden of China. Debt invested productively is better the more it is and not a drag. Debt invested in the way China does it, in physical infrastructure, is a measure of economic strength, not a problem. It is only a problem when debt is invested in bubbles. But with financial bubbles, the Western economies should look more to their own problems than on China. Just adding figures is not enough to comprehend the concept of economic platforms, just as the rural development of China, also the gigantic reforestation of China. The expansion of the railway network is the most evident example of creating new economic platforms, making room and new dimensions for tremendous jumps in the economic growth of China. This transport infrastructure is creating corridors like corridors of development, attracting traffic and economic growth, just like the German Autobahn highway system did for Europe. Neighbor countries prefer the German roads when possible to access neighbor countries. The same way, the Chinese transport will be used by other nations, especially in combination with the corridors developed through the Belt and Road Initiative. The system of seamless transportation is in itself a new platform, especially in combination with the new foreign payment system of the renminbi, as has been explained by Mr. Henry Tillman at our earlier webinars. The efficiency of these new channels are creating new space for growth. The corridors and the special economic zones of the BRI internationally are attracting investments from other countries even more than the Chinese foreign direct investments. These are economic growth potentials of China that figure-adding monetarist economists do not comprehend. What is needed is to understand that the minds like that of what is needed to understand that are the minds like that of engineers, entrepreneurs, or skilled workers, or the wisdom of exceptional statesmen, like we see in the leadership today in China. His Excellency Dmitry Mironchik challenged me to discuss Huawei. I can acknowledge it was a disaster for Sweden, who lost at least 2 years in the implementation of the 5G in Sweden. Also, it created tremendous problems for Ericsson, who was the leader of 5G development together with Huawei, developing its standards. It was a great mistake, as China, with its innovation and space development, is a channel, a corridor, also for industrial development of telecommunication companies. It is the place, the corridor, where you have to have presence, just like Silicon Valley. That physical economic understanding was totally lacking in the Swedish decision against Huawei. The whole process, people's democracy, of lovingly taking care of each citizen and each region, allowing them to take part in the modernization of production, must be respected as the highest wisdom and in harmony with nature. The late Mr. Lino LaRouche Jr., who this year was born 100 years ago, taught us that improving the conditions for creative mind of labor is the center for the physical economy. Just as the biosphere, before mankind entered the scene, raised itself to higher platforms for more efficient forms of life, with the help of evolutionary revolutions in the forms and preconditions of life. The noosphere, where the mind is working, with the help of innovative human minds and productive labor, creates better platforms with potential of extending all kinds of life on planet Earth and beyond in the universe. Life is floating on such beautiful creative creation. As China so systematically is unleashing its freedom for its people to innovate, to create what no human on Earth could think of before, I am confident that China will continue to build new platforms for more productive and happy life for China, and giving the economic weight of China globally more and more for all mankind and all the noosphere. No one can plan what will come out of the minds of a person doing innovation. In this way, the process of innovation both depends totally on and strengthens the people's power and democracy. A nation promoting innovation entrusts its future on the minds of its people to carry the nation forward. The whole people-centered economic policy of China, based on innovation, is a policy for exponential growth and definitely has the potential to fully mobilize the youth of China and realize the Chinese dream of true national rejuvenation, which so many in the world wish to see for the Chinese people after centuries of hard work and fierce struggle against vicious colonial repression. Thanks for the word.